We love the Sleeper platform, and today we're going to break down exactly how you should break down your Sleeper fantasy football draft. If you guys are using it for your home leagues, let us know down below. We're going to go through quarterback strategy, running back strategy, wide receiver, tight end strategy, and we're going to do a mock at the end. So, Danny, let's get it kicked off. Sleeper's default settings are kind of weird, but most people in Sleeper leagues are probably running PPR, 4 point per passing touchdown, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and then 1 or 2 flexes. I would imagine that would apply to like 70, 80% of Sleeper leagues out there. Of course, my home leagues has big play bonuses. We have the first down bonuses. You can get real creative with Sleeper is the point.
A lot of fun.
But most leagues, we're going to kind of blanket statement as, yeah, probably half PPR, full PPR, 2 flex type of leagues, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs in this video.
Yeah, and most of the advice that we're basing this on, and then obviously subsequently in the mock we'll show at the end, will be based on these settings, like you said, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, box standard type of league. You guys can make obviously the adjustments where necessary. And of course, like we said in the ESPN video, if you know your league is a 1 flex setup, a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex setup, make sure you prioritize that tight end and quarterback spot even more. Vice versa, you're in a deeper league, 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes, make sure you value those flex spots a good amount.
For sure. So we're going to get it kicked off with the running back strategy. We started with quarterbacks on ESPN, but I feel like it makes more sense to start with the running back position because, you know, a lot of the strategy is based on how you handle this position. So as you guys can see on the screen, courtesy of our draft guide, the FSC versus Home League rankings tab has our rankings versus Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, NFL, all those platforms. So you can see the best values on those given platforms. And you can see the first couple of running backs is pretty chalk. Like we have Bijan, Saquon, Gibbs, McCaffrey, Genty, and Henry relatively ranked around where they're going, other than Henry being pushed up a little bit more. The second to fourth round, though, has a ton of great value opportunities. You look at where Achan's going, where Chase Brown is going, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Hampton going way lower than where we have him ranked, Kenneth Walker, and Trevion Henderson. All of those guys are excellent targets for you guys in the second through fourth round. In the mid rounds, there's actually quite a few targets that we like as well, from RJ Harvey to Isaiah Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. Even further down the board, you got Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren, and Bill Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt there. This makes, honestly, it makes me want to get an anchor wide receiver in the first round, because I know that in rounds 2 through 4, I'm going to have a couple running back targets. Worst case scenario, in rounds 6 through 9, I'll have a couple running back targets. And I feel like I can get good value on those anchor wide receivers in the first round, and then subsequently kind of in like the 5th to 7th round as well.
Yeah, and you guys will see it in the mock draft section. I agree there. I actually pick 5 in both of my home leagues that are on the Sleeper platform. And again, hopefully you guys aren't watching right now, but my goal, if I can somehow secure CeeDee Lamb in both of those teams, have that anchor wide receiver, be able to build around them, because ultimately the biggest targets at the running back position on the Sleeper platform, you can grab your anchor. You can grab a Jahmyr Gibbs. You can grab somebody like that in round 1. But like I said, if you can grab a CeeDee Lamb and still have access to, maybe people are a little worried off of a guy like Devon Achane right now with the calf strain. A guy like Chase Brown, we have aggressively ranked up the board, about 10 spots higher than where the Sleeper ADP has him. Guys like Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Amari Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Trevion Henderson. There are a lot of guys in those first 4 rounds that we are ahead of the market on. So if you can get your anchor wide receiver early, maybe wrap around with a guy like Chase Brown in the second, and who knows, maybe it's a round 3 Amari Hampton. Maybe it's a round 4 Trevion Henderson. You have so much opportunity to build out at least 2 running backs for the first 4 rounds, which is where I want to be on the Sleeper platform. However, maybe you're unfortunate, or maybe you got an elite value falling at wide receiver and you can't leave your first 4 rounds with more than 1 running back. Well, guess what? Mid-round targets, we like RJ Harvey, Isaiah Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. And if you want to secure that depth, you know, rounds 9 plus, really get that advantage on your league mates, guys that are buried on the Sleeper ADP, Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren, Bill Merritt. I mean, there's a ton of guys that we really like on top of like a guy like Tank Bigsby and Dylan Sampson, for example. Shout out the Flock League.
Yeah, no, there's sleepers that are available on the Sleeper platform quite a bit. And I would say just round by round breakdown, it looks like when you go through the ADP, it's like, okay, first round, it's probably optimal to take a receiver. Second through fourth round, it's probably optimal to get at least 2 running backs in that range, maybe taking a receiver or a quarterback or a tight end if the value's there. Rounds 5 through 7, it's just straight up wide receiver is the best pick on the board 99% of the time, which we'll get into in a second. And then rounds 7, 8, 9, 10 is when you can start to deviate for those quarterbacks, those tight ends, and again, wrap around with some other running backs. So moving into the wide receiver position, you guys can see the players that we have highlighted essentially are the guys that are values on the Sleeper platform. And there's a lot of value in the early rounds. The early round wide receivers are priced very, very well on Sleeper, specifically if you pick at the end of the first round, because from pick 8 to like pick 20, Puka, Nico, Neighbors, BTJ, AJ Brown, Drake London, and Ladd McConkey. We have those guys a couple of spots ahead of where they're actually going. And I feel very comfortable personally as somebody who picks in this area of the board in my home league on Sleeper of taking 2 straight wide receivers, because I feel confident that at the 3-4 turn, Hampton, Walker, Brees, Kyron, James Cook, Trevion Henderson, those guys are going to be there on the board for me in the 3-4 turn. A couple of those guys might be there for me on the board at the 3-4 turn. And if I could start my draft, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. with Amari and Hampton and Brees Hall as my 3rd and 4th round pick, I feel great about that, knowing I can fill out wide receivers in the upcoming rounds like 5 to 7.
I would say the one caveat is if you're in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, like shallower format, you probably tend to want to grab, especially if you're picking at the end of the board, a hero of each position, because you want to lock down, elite fantasy points at wide receiver, elite fantasy points at running back. But as soon as you get into 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 2 wide receiver, 3 flex is actually where my home league's at this point. So a lot of depth, a lot of value in the flex positions. At that point, like you said, if you're at 111, 110, and you want to dip Nico Collins plus Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors plus Drake London, like you have so much opportunity to get your double heroes, attack your next 2 running backs on that 3-4 turn, and it got you feeling nicey.
Yeah, no, it's got me feeling nicey. And in the rounds 4 to 7 range, there's just wide receiver value after wide receiver value, man. Harrison, Hunter, Worthy, T-Mac, Smitty, Pickens, J-Mo, Waddle, Odunze, Igbuka, Olave, Diggs, Godwin, Downs, Golden, and Addison. Like you can start your draft hypothetically with Drake London and Malik Neighbors, grab 2 running backs, say Amari and Hampton and Brees Hall, and then hammer out in round 5, you get Jameson Williams falling to you. And then you get Emeka Egbuka in the 6th round. And then in the 7th round, you get Matthew Golden. In the 8th round, you get Jordan Addison. And you're like, holy cow, in my 2 wide receiver, 3 flex league, I am absolutely loaded through the flex with these wide receivers. In an ideal world, I would like to walk out of the first 8 rounds with like 4 or 5 wide receivers, 2 or 3 running backs, and an elite quarterback or tight end if the value presented itself to me, which is what we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to approach it in terms of wide receiver targets on Sleeper. In the early rounds, I mean, we are all in compared to where Sleeper ADP is at on guys like Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr. Even when you go to the 2nd round, AJ Brown, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, they're all guys that we have ranked higher than the Sleeper platform does. Now, part of that, of course, is we do have just in general the 2nd round wide receivers pushed up in relation to the running backs that Sleeper has. But that's also because, as we know, if we know the round 3, round 4 targets are going to be plentiful at the running back position, grabbing your wide receivers that can anchor that position early, focusing on your depth later on is going to be the key to building out the number 1 or 2 receiver core in your league.
Yeah, I have 11 receivers in my top 18, with Ladd McConkey being wide receiver 11 in my rankings. And it's not because I'm just like wide receiver pilled and I think this is an underdog draft. No, it's because those guys just project so much better than the rest of the
If you can start 5 in your lineup every week, if you could, like, say it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex league, if you can start up to 5 wide receivers in your lineup every week, I honestly think, given the current ADP, you almost have to leave your first 3 rounds with 2 stud wide receivers if you can.
Yeah, no, especially knowing that, again, if all else fails, like let's say when I was on my way back at the 3-4 turn, I thought I was getting a bunch of those running backs and just Amari and Hampton falls. It's just Amari and Hampton. I take him at 309 to go along with my Collins and Drake London to start my draft. I can take an elite onesie, potentially Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, or George Kittle with my next pick, or I can just take another receiver, knowing that at the 5-6 turn, I like James Conner still. I like Isaiah Pacheco still. I like RJ Harvey still. I like some of the guys that might be there for me. And I can even feel comfortable running a hero RB, grabbing Travis Etienne and Tyrone Tracy at the 8-9 turn or something like that. So for me, it's just, I think there's way more opportunities to dip into the running back position this year than there usually is. Before it was like, you got to get your running backs early. You got to get at least 1 in the first 2 rounds. But now it's like, I've never felt more comfortable not having a running back through my first 2 to 3 picks if I have to.
Well, that's the thing too. You can also apply it to a team with Jamar Chase. You grab Jamar Chase at the 1-1, maybe a Ladd McConkey falls to you. If not, you go with a hero wide receiver. If you do go with a hero wide receiver, like Travis Hunter, Emeka Egbuka, Rome Odunze, like you might be able to get 2 of those guys at the 6-7 turn.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you already probably walked away with like Bucky Irving and Josh Jacobs at the 2-3 turn. And you have 2 running backs and Jamar Chase. And then at the 4-5, like you said, maybe Xavier Worthy and Jameson Williams fall to you at the 6-7 turn. You have the opportunity to draft Golden or Egbuka or Downs, or maybe you want to play it safer and grab a Judy or an Olave who has a little bit more of a safe projection. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to get receivers this year in the mid rounds. Generally speaking, we want to stay flexible, but for the most part, you want to be cognizant of what's going to be the best player on the board. Because ultimately, these strategies are just taking the best player, but you're trying to plan ahead for what's going to be the best player for the rest of your draft. And we can kind of pivot into the onesies and how we would address quarterback and tight end, because at quarterback, as you guys can see on the board, it's very similar to ESPN. The top 4 quarterbacks we have ranked basically in line with where they go. In the ESPN video, Allen and Jackson were actually the values. And in this video, in the sleeper strategy, Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts are actually the values. They're the ones that are sliding to the 3-4 turn. Whereas on ESPN, Allen and Jackson were sliding to the mid-third a little bit more. So for anybody picking near the end of the board, I do think grabbing Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts makes a lot of sense. The middle round of quarterback is, again, overvalued, just like it was in the ESPN league, because it makes sense. In casual leagues, people fill out their starting lineups, they get their 2 running backs, their 2 wide receivers, and then they want to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, people love grabbing their quarterbacks in the mid rounds. Hey, Joe Burrow, you're the next quarterback on the board. You're going 5 picks after Jalen Hurts.
38 overall, he goes on sleeper.
3 picks after Jalen Hurts. I also gave the platform the benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, the fact that there is less of a discrepancy between those mid-round quarterbacks and those top 4, either grab one of those top 4 guys, bite the bullet. Again, I tend to favor taking one of the top 4 guys in a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex or less league personally. If it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 2 wide receiver, 3 flex, like in some of my home leagues, I think you almost have to pass on quarterback and tight end. Like that's the only caveat that I have. In deeper leagues, it is super tough to build out adequate depth if you go early with the quarterback and tight end position. If you can start 5 wide receivers or 4 running backs in your lineup on a given week, it will decrease the value of the quarterback position. However, if you are in a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex type of setup, like we said in the ESPN video, I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that you have to take one.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if you're in an 8 and a 10 man league, that gets elevated even more relative to the starting spots. Like there are, 8 quarterbacks that go in the top 72 overall picks on sleeper. On Underdog, there is 5 quarterbacks that go in the top 72 picks of ADP there. Joe Burrow goes 20 to 25 picks after Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. And again, remember that Underdog is a sharp platform with real money drafts. It's been going on for months and months. The experts and the sharps view a difference between those dual threat mobile quarterbacks and Joe Burrow. And also keep in mind that part of the reason Joe Burrow goes high still is because people are stacking him with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and some of the Cardinals for the week 17 correlation. So generally speaking, the biggest quarterback targets for us on Sleeper is, again, to overlook the middle rounds, take late round quarterback if you don't get one of those top 4 guys. And again, on Sleeper specifically, Daniels and Hurts look like the best values based on where we have these guys ranked. Of course, Lamar and Allen are still great picks, but they do go a little bit higher on Sleeper than they did on ESPN. Dak, Caleb, Drake May, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, Justin Fields in that round 9 through 12 range. And then even later, if you really want to punt all the way to like Michael Penix or Tua or Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, something like that. Don't be afraid to stream quarterbacks on a sleeper league, especially if you guys are in a 10-man league or an 8-man league or something like that. Yes, it's beneficial to have one of those top 4 guys, but you don't want to be the guy that takes QB 5, 6, and 7 off the board.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be the guy that pushes up that mid-range. And we do really have a lot of these late-round quarterbacks push up the board. Like Dak, 21.5 spots higher. Caleb Williams, 36 spots higher. Drake May, 37 spots higher. Jordan Love, 37.5 spots higher. Like there's just so many quarterbacks with that hard green label once you get past about pick 100.
Yeah, and as we always talk about too, use your wide receivers as a guide. You take Travis Hunter in the 5th round. Well, Trevor Lawrence is pick 181 on Sleeper. So you can stack him up with Trevor Lawrence, no problem. If you draft CeeDee Lamb in the 1st round, like Dak Prescott, use him as a compass if you need to. It's very easy to go ahead and do that. If you do not get the value on the top 4 quarterbacks, punting to the round 9 through 12 range is going to have shitty running backs and wide receivers on the board anyways. And it feels pretty good when you're looking at, do I take Keon Coleman or Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, or Jordan Love? It's like, well, who's going to be more valuable for your fantasy team? It's probably not Keon Coleman.
Give me the guy that can give me 20 points per game in my lineup, and I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, and you're probably not going to get a major difference between them and Joe Burrow and Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes and the guys that go a lot higher. So the tight end position on Sleeper is a little bit different than it was in the ESPN video because Trey McBride is actually going a little lower on Sleeper than he was going on ESPN. Yeah. And Brock Bowers was going a little bit higher. He's going a little bit higher on Sleeper than he was on ESPN. So the top 3 tight end dynamic on ESPN, in my opinion, was just take George Kittle and don't really worry about McBride and Bowers. But there is opportunities to grab Trey McBride in the mid-3rd round, and I'm absolutely okay doing it at that point, considering he is actually my tight end 1 in redraft this year. But the same principle applies for the most part. Laporta, Hawkinson, Kelsey, those type of guys, they are going way higher on sleeper than we have them in our rankings. Even some of the guys that I like in that territory, like, Mark Andrews and Sam Laporta, they're just going way higher than I want to take them.
I know which 3 tight ends I'm taking on the sleeper platform. Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft. Welcome down.
Yeah, just like we said in the ESPN platform, it's a little bit more competitively priced on sleeper. Like on ESPN, I think they were like 50 spots lower in our on ADP than they are in our rankings. You have to take them a little bit higher. Like you could get away with on an ESPN league not taking Tyler Warren until the 12th round, but this year on sleeper, it's more like a ninth round pick that you have to spend on them.
From mocking from my home league, I've noticed like if you don't take a tight end early, like you have to make sure if you like Loveland, if you like Warren, if you like Kraft, like back in the day, it would be like, oh shoot, 8 teams already have a tight end, so like I can wait a little bit. It's like no, like if you wait a little bit on sleeper, like people have no problem just double tapping tight ends.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that round 8 and round 9 is probably when you want to be selecting the draft button on Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, and Tucker Kraft. Maybe you could get lucky and wait until round 10, but honestly, I don't really want to risk it.
I don't want to risk it.
As much as I like Dalton Kincaid and Dallas Goedert, and I don't mind taking the shot on Jake Ferguson, even Hunter Henry, and some of the guys going later. I just you want to get one of those top 15 or so in ADP. You want to get one of them, and maybe even 2, because like as you did in the Flock League, you took Colson Loveland and Tucker Kraft. As I did in the Flock League, I took Mark Andrews, who fell to me at a nice value, and I doubled up with Dalton Kincaid as an upside swing. It's not a bad idea to take 2 tight ends, especially if one's a safer guy and one's a riskier guy.
Hey, you should just double flex them week 1. Kincaid and the flex, get the run back for the Ravens-Bills onslaught.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say, again, general tight end strategy, deviating from McBride or Kittle is easier on sleeper than it is on ESPN and other platforms, given that you have value in the mid rounds at running back and wide receiver. Loveland, Warren, and Kraft still remains the honeypot, still remains the break glass in case of emergency strategy for us.
Bread and butter.
Worst case scenario, you can punt the tight end position completely, grab Hunter Henry with your 14th round pick and Isaiah Likely to stash on your IR with your 15th round pick, Mason Taylor, Terrence Ferguson, Darren Waller, some upside swing. You can get away with punting tight end this year. I just don't think it's optimal. I think you probably want to be grabbing somebody in the like Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert territory or higher.
I would agree. But overall, let's go to optimal strategy. We'll kind of look at the best values that we have in the top 50. Your first round best values, guys like CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors, we mentioned before. In the second round, BTJ, Achane, Drake London, Chase Brown is going to be the big one for me. Like I said, specifically in my home league, I'm picking at the 105. Ideally, if I can walk away the first 2 rounds, CeeDee Lamb at the 5th spot, get Chase Brown at the 208. That's about as good of a 2-man combo as I could possibly ask for.
Well, yeah, and if you notice, our biggest discrepancies in the first 4.5-ish rounds of ADP are all running backs. Chase Brown, Amarian Hampton, Kenneth Walker, and Trevion Henderson. You could reasonably, if you needed to, draft those guys 3 in a row. You could take Chase in the 2nd round, Hampton in the 3rd round, Henderson in the 4th round. Or just be targeting those guys actively. And then as you notice beyond that, rounds 5 through 7, our biggest values are wide receivers. So it does make sense generally to structure your team in a way that you get an anchor wide receiver early. You tend to fill out your running back core rounds 2 through 4, and then you're going to double back to wide receiver rounds 4 to 7 or whatever the case is. So we're going to actually show you guys this in practice. We're going to both be kind of picking from an area of the board that we haven't drafted too much from. You're going to be kind of right after that top 6 territory, and I'm going to be more at the 1-2 turn. So we'll get into that right now. All right, so Danny's going to be picking from the 7 hole. I'm going to be picking from the 11 hole. And again, we're going to kind of go about this worst case scenario because we said that on sleeper, it does actually make sense to maybe go double wide receiver or something like that towards the end of the board. And I've rigged the board so that Danny doesn't have any crazy falling value, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb here. So 107 is an interesting spot for a lot of people. What are you thinking here?
I was just going to say, in every serious league, surely Jefferson's gone by the 6 hole, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the Flock League, he wasn't. That's a spoiler, obviously. But it is crazy that he got it.
Speaking of spoiler, by the way, shout out to you guys who actually DM me and noticed the Easter egg on last video. Because when we posted that in the Flock Discord, I said, hey, if you watch this video, you'll know that there's an Easter egg in there. And I had a couple people DM me what it was. So shout out those of you that figured it out. At the end of our mock draft, I said that CeeDee Lamb plus Drake London may very well be a league-winning start, and it's got me feeling nicey, I think is what I said exactly in the video. And obviously later in the day, I'm not going to spoil it, but I may or may not have gotten Drake London in the trade video yesterday.
For sure. So what are you thinking here at 107?
107 here, taking my 7th overall player. I mean, I have a jersey of this guy. There's no way I can betray him. Nico Collins.
Yep. Yeah, which is, again, 107 is one of those picks where you kind of do have to go off the
Take
board a little bit because everybody's going to have a guy that they feel is the 107. At least the way that I look at it, for me, that would be the guy that actually just fell to me at 111. So I'm going to be taking the league neighbors here, who if I was picking where you were, I would have actually taken him there. And I'm actually kind of glad that Achane and Genty went there because I kind of want to pass on Christian McCaffrey just for the meme here. So yesterday, when Christian McCaffrey had Brian Robinson traded for, I may have overreacted just a little bit, saying that Brian Robinson was going to be a major part of this backfield. But I do
don't worry though. Hey,
I do still feel strongly that Christian McCaffrey belongs behind Achane, assuming he's healthy, and Genty, assuming McCaffrey is going to have B-Rob in the backfield.
Don't worry, comments. I was able to get a classic FSE bet with Corey that B-Rob would be within 20% of the carries of Christian McCaffrey. I'm on the McCaffrey side.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I am actually going to pass on Christian McCaffrey because I do want to test what we were talking about in the strategy portion. I'm going to take two receivers here. So I'm going to take Brian Thomas, and I'll go with the LSU stack here. And McCaffrey goes off the board to Team 10, the ultimate unk.
My heart was ripped out. I thought maybe, just maybe, one Drake London would have slipped a couple of spots. If I'm looking across the board here, Brock Bowers going to be higher. Two flex, two wide receiver league. It does have merit. But for me, I would just rather secure my running back at this point. And the running back that I have pushed up here, I know you have ranked in this range as well. Chase Brown is just sticking out like a sore thumb. So I'm perfectly comfortable taking him. Top 18 ranked player for me. We do take him here at the 2-6, which is what, the 18th overall pick?
Yeah, which is exactly where I have him ranked pretty much. And I personally would have taken A.J. Brown there. And especially as we talked about in the strategy portion, knowing that Chase Brown does actually have a solid chance of falling back to you on this platform.
I didn't want to risk it at the 3-7.
I wouldn't want to risk it either. I do think that people picking more so at that 1-2 turn, or that 2-3 turn, sorry, they're going to have the opportunity to get Chase Brown in the third round. Well,
that's the thing, right? If I'm picking like anywhere like team 3 or team 4, like this close, I could maybe gamble and see if Chase Brown falls back. But when I'm in the middle of the board, you kind of just have to take your stances. Unfortunately, it's very unlikely that Chase Brown would have fallen back to the 3-7 because that's what, the 30th overall pick. I would have been cutting fine lines there, and I don't want to take the risk because I think Chase Brown could be a league winner this year. I'm back on the clock, though. I could go with a guy like Amari Hampton. It is a 2-flex, 2-wide receiver league, but unfortunately, all three of the top quarterbacks in my rankings off the board, both of the tight ends off of the board. So I will be shifting, I believe, to a running back here. I like Amari Hampton. I like Kenneth Walker a good bit. Amari Hampton is my highest ranked player, so I'm just going to secure him here. Get my double hero, Nico Collins at wide receiver, and then Chase Brown, Amari Hampton, securing my running back touches.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I'm actually going to do the same thing and secure some running back touches here. My highest ranked wide receiver would be Marvin Harrison. I could risk it. I mean, this guy at Team 12 has 2 running backs already. I think he'd be more likely to take a wide receiver than a running back. I do see a bit of a difference between Kenneth Walker and Kyron Williams / Trevion Henderson, who are available to me on the board. And I actually don't mind the idea of also potentially doubling up at running back here. So
I dig it.
It's tough, man. Harrison versus Kenneth Walker would be the conversation for me. I technically have Harrison ranked 1 spot ahead, but I do want to secure myself a running back here. So
context matters.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because Harrison did actually fall back to me. So it would be between Kenneth Walker and Kyron Williams. I'm going to just take Harrison. I feel confident that I should be able to get like a Pacheco or an RJ Harvey or somebody later on in the draft. Again, if you're like, hey, just get me my running back touches, I'm going with Kyron Williams here. That would be totally fine with me as well. But I'm just going to stack up the top 3 receivers from the 2024 NFL draft here and go with Malik Neighbors, BTJ, and Marvin Harrison to stack out my 2 wide receivers in my first flex spot. I just feel really good about those 3 receivers.
Love that pick from you. And honestly, at the risk of being called unk, in a deeper-ish type of setting, again, like if this was 3 flexes, 3 wide receiver, 2 flexes, I think inherently I would do this even harder. My highest ranked player is a running back here. Like I don't want to be risk calling unk though. Like I don't want to take 3 running backs.
I mean, I would take Mike Evans or Devontae Adams if you don't want to take Henderson here, but it makes sense.
The reason being is if I were to go with a running back and a wide receiver in the next 2 rounds, I don't have as big of a difference between this Evans Adams area versus even Travis Hunter, Tedero, McMillan, guys like that. So, and I think there's a good chance one of them falls back to me. When I look at the running back position, it's Trevion Henderson and everybody else right now, in my opinion.
Okay. So, yeah, go nuts. Go take be unk here.
Hey, I guess on Sleeper, you can be unk because I will be unk.
Yeah, well, and especially again, knowing that in the rounds 5 through 7 range, the wide receivers are likely going to be the picks that you like. And in round 8, 9, you can sometimes get good value on like upside Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs types as well.
And this is why you always play the game. Travis Hunter, Tedero, McMillan, Xavier Worthy. I am fucking flooded with wide receiver options here. My highest ranked one is Travis Hunter. I'm assuming you're going to grab probably 2 of them on this turn because the wide receivers are looking plentiful.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Devontae Smith went off the board, who I definitely would have loved to get there. Pacheco and Harvey are my highest 2 rated running backs. I'm definitely going to grab one of them on the way back, but I am going to punt it because I do feel pretty confident that as a second flex, a guy like Jamison Williams, what he represents with his single week winning upside, I think going along with Neighbors, Thomas, and Harrison, who I feel confident in target shares and big plays. Imagine just the amount of big plays that this receiver core could actually pull off that I've developed here. Between Neighbors, Thomas, Harrison, and Jamison Williams, how many 60-yard touchdowns do I get this year out of those receivers? And then the guy that I wanted on the way back, Isaiah Pacheco, I secure myself some touches on the Chiefs offense.
Let's just say you'll be having fun on Sundays.
Yeah, exactly. I get to watch Kenneth Walker and Pacheco, who both have 4.3 speed, who can break off long runs. And then I have all of my receivers, except for Harrison, probably running the low 4.3s as well. So, I feel good about the big play upside of that receiver core and those running backs.
For sure. Got you feeling nicey. I'm back on the clock here. My 2 highest ranked wide receivers, Jalen Waddle and Rome Odunze. However, I do know, based on the sleeper ADP, who I could potentially get back at the 7-7. So even though, like, theoretically I could play the ADP game, take Waddle now, get Rome Odunze later, I have a guy that is buried down the board. I know we'll get it in the next round. So I'm going to take Rome Odunze now because I do have him ranked higher. And if he falls, I will be taking your Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say that even though Emeka Egbuka is at like the 7th, 8th round of ADP, if you guys want him, you better take him in round 6. Again, more power to you. If you're like, hey, I punted Emeka Egbuka to the 8th round and he fell to me, great job. Good on you. But I'm not risking it in my own personal home league.
I don't blame you.
I pick at 109 and I might very well pick him at 604 just because I don't want to risk that he doesn't fall back to me at the 709. Because while in ADP it says that he should, I just don't. Like, people watch my content. I do not think he's going to.
Dude, I have both Odunze and Egbuka as top 50, top 55 overall players this year. Getting to take them at the 6-6 and the 7-7 after getting a top 40 player with Travis Hunter, top 40 player with Trevion Henderson, top 24 player in my rankings with Amari Hampton. Chase Brown's my 18th overall player. Nico Collins my 7th. Like, if you're on sleeper and you could just build out a juggernaut, go take advantage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm on the board here. I feel pretty good still about the wide receiver options that could slide back to me. I mean, Matthew Golden, Jordan Addison, definitely really tempting, knowing they'd be coming off of the bench for me. But I think that the running back position is going to look ultra disgusting if I don't take one here by the time I get back at the 9-11 here. And I think, do I want to invest into 2 New York Giants because I have Neighbors already, or do I want 2 Jacksonville Jaguars because I have Brian Thomas Jr. already? I'll go with the touches here. I think that Tyrone Tracy's role is a little safer than Travis Etienne, so I'll grab Tyrone Tracy there at the 7-11.
You don't want B-Rob?
No, I don't. Not anymore. Unfortunately, I do not want B-Rob. I think I'm going to punt tight end here because I feel pretty good about a lot of the options on the board. And as I talked about earlier, I'm going to use my receivers as a compass here, and I have a mobile quarterback and his number 1 receiver. So I'll roll with Kyler Murray here at the 802 to stack up with my Marvin.
Strong start there. Do I wait around? I'm not waiting around. I'm taking Colson Loveland right now. I feel like these guys are going to double up on the turn. I really do.
Oh, no, they definitely could. Yeah,
they love doubling up tight ends.
Yeah, in the strategy portion, we talked about, hey, if you want these Warren Loveland type of tight ends, on ESPN, you might be able to get away with them 9th, 10th round and beyond. But on Sleeper, you should probably just take them in round 8 because you don't want to risk them not getting back to you. And I might be at a position where I'm locked out at tight end, but thankfully all of you guys ahead of me have a tight end. So hopefully Kraft falls back to me.
And this is why you lock up your running backs early on Sleeper, because I don't have to worry about Jordan Mason. I don't have to worry about Cam Scatterby. I like Jalen Warren actually a little bit, so I'm not even going to say anything. But Travis Etienne, and yes, I am biased because I have him in the flock league. I don't have to worry about Brian Robinson Jr. You know what I get to worry about is Ricky Pearsall, because I have those 3 running backs at the top.
Yeah, no, that's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. Nice. And I felt good that a good receiver and a good tight end would fall back to me. This guy's George Kittle already. I don't really want to risk that Josh Downs goes, to be honest, because he is by far my highest ranked receiver on the board. So I'm going to grab Josh Downs and hope that this guy doesn't double up at tight end. And he took Kincaid, so he did double up at tight end, but I do still get Kraft. So we'll roll with that.
That's a great pick. I love Kraft.
Yeah, I mean, again, knowing that, as we said, knowing I can default to Kraft, Ferguson, Kincaid, even like Ingram and Warren and Njoku and Loveland and these guys in the 8th to 10th round, it just makes me less likely to take Hawkinson or Sam Laporta and stuff. It's not that I don't think those guys project better. They do. It's just not that big of a difference.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. The only thing I'm scared about here is these teams are just going to start taking double quarterbacks because that's how the sleeper algorithm is made up. I guess I'm just going to try to risk it because I do want Caleb Williams on this team for the double stack with the Dunze and Loveland. We'll see if the bots want to ruin that.
Dude, I think he's going to go.
Worst case, I go to a Drake May. I go to a Jordan Love. I have other.
I mean, what are you going to pick right now? That would be my question. Other than Caleb,
a running back. Probably would go J.K. Dobbins or Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or Eckler too. I mean, Eckler's a decent option here. I do have a couple rookies on my team. I think Eckler's a good veteran.
Bill's on the board too, for what it's worth.
Oh, I mean, that's a really good call. I forgot that he is buried in ADP. Let me take Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, Krosky Merritt, again, if you guys are drafting this weekend specifically, like we're dropping this video Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. If you guys are drafting today or tomorrow, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt probably not on the minds of your league mates unless they see them in ADP. Like I know in my home league, like a lot of 60-70% of people, if they don't see a guy in ADP, they might just forget about him. And then when you take him, they'll go, oh man, I wanted him and I just forgot. I thought he was gone already.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've always noticed is people start becoming so aware of the ADP if they do a bunch of mocks that they think, oh, every draft that I'm in, I'm getting a Gabuka in the 10th. And it's like, oh, well, he just went 6th round of your actual draft because people know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And speaking of the Washington backfield, I will be taking Austin Eckler. I am a coward and I have them ranked back to back because I don't know which guy I actually prefer. I think that Bill is probably the upside play given that he's young and, mystery box and all that kind of stuff. But I do think Austin Eckler is the better receiver and maybe could lead the team in touches this year. So I actually really, really like him as a late round sleeper this year. There's a lot of handcuffs that I could go with here. You got Braylon Allen, you got Trey Benson, you got Tajay Spears, Rashad White, bunch of different options here. I am going to grab Dylan Sampson because he is the one that I prefer of that group, as we made reference to. I mean, Dylan Sampson, as long as Quinshon's not signed and as long as Quinshon's not practicing, Dylan Sampson belongs as like a 9th to 10th round pick, in my opinion. So the fact that you can get him at the 12-12 on sleeper, you got to be taking that value at this point. Yep,
good shout. I'm just going to stash a bunch of upside backs, buy Shell Tootin in the 13-7. It's got me feeling good.
Yeah, we're just like this is another reason too, by the way, why I'm okay walking out of how many running backs did I have in the first 10 rounds? I only had 3 running backs on my team. I only had Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tyrone Tracy.
11.
Having 3, maybe 4 running backs out of the first 10 rounds is totally fine with me for the sole reason that I think most of my late round picks will be running backs. Because I don't feel excellent about Kyle Williams or Dante Thornton or Cedric Tillman or some of these guys. Like, yeah, maybe there's an upside swing or two that pays off at receiver, but generally speaking, the highest win rate players that come out of the late rounds are backup running backs. And
think of it like this, Corey. If you're going to take players that are lesser talents than the ones going early, take them at the position that doesn't require elite talent to win out. Take them at the position that in order to get production, you need touches, and that's running back. Because you could throw a wide receiver onto the field and he still has to go out there and command his volume. You could throw a running back out there on the field and just force feed him 20 touches. It probably won't look pretty, but hey, 20 touches is 20 touches. He falls backward into the end zone and you're looking at probably a top 15 week.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, I have 2 decisions to make on the board here. I did actually take Dylan Sampson already, so I could go with Jerome Ford and just kind of see what happens in that Cleveland backfield if Quinshon's going to be out for an extended period of time.
Rico Dowdle
definitely just walk up maybe the Browns starting running back. Another thing that would make sense for me too is Kyler Murray is a little bit boomer bust, a little bit volatile. So grabbing Trevor Lawrence here would make some sense, knowing that I have Brian Thomas Jr. and I could drop Trevor Lawrence if Kyler's balling out. I could drop Kyler if or trade Kyler if Lawrence is balling out. I am actually going to take Lawrence here, unfortunately, and break your heart a little bit.
That was my dream combo. Caleb Williams with Trevor Lawrence would be really, really strong.
He was just a tier break for me at quarterback.
I agree. And like Penix, I don't have any stacking options, unfortunately. Obviously, Bryce Young don't have any stacking options. So if that's the case, I'm probably not going to double up at quarterback because it just doesn't make sense for me. This would be probably a team where if Caleb Williams, if I need to throw somebody in during the week, I'd probably pick up like a Stafford or a Young or Penix or someone like that off of waivers because I'm assuming in your leagues, not everybody's going to hoard 2 quarterbacks, but who knows? Maybe inherently everybody in your league is going to grab 2 quarterbacks, and you grab Michael Penix here. I think that's perfectly reasonable. For me, though, is there any upside at wide receiver? Maybe we could look at. There's an easy name. Okay, I got to search his name. Jalen Coker.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, no, this is basically the end of the mock that we got here. Obviously, you ended up going with kind of a Unk strategy of grabbing a bunch of running backs in the mid rounds. But what did we say? What did we say in the strategy portion? In round 1, what's the best pick on the board? Usually a wide receiver. In rounds 2 through 4, what are the best picks on the board? Usually running backs. In round 5 to 7, what are the best picks on the board? Usually wide receivers. 8, 9, 10, that's when we maybe want to start getting our quarterback or our tight end if we didn't get one already. And then late round, you just want to hammer out running backs. Like, ultimately, you kind of followed the strategy to a T. And even on my team, I didn't grab as many running backs as you did in the early rounds, but Kenneth Walker was my main anchor. Isaiah Pacheco and Tracy, I feel fine about at the 602 and the 711. And then I end up getting Kyler Murray, Tucker Kraft to anchor my tight end and my quarterback position, with Trevor Lawrence waiting in the wings in case I need to use him early in the season. And then I just fill out my upside at running back, and I'm absolutely stacked at wide receiver through the flex.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. I am terrified at Arthur calling me Unk in the comment section, though.
No, he definitely might. But appreciate you guys for tuning into this video. Hopefully you made it to the end. If you did, leave us a like down below and let us know what you thought of this video. Are you guys drafting on Sleeper? What does your league look like? How can we help you out? Let us know down below in the comments. And if you do want this FSC rankings versus Sleeper ADP for yourself so that you can look through it throughout your draft, if you want to use our draft ready cheat sheet throughout the draft, head on over to flockfantasy.com, get our season pass for just $34 right now. You'll get our redraft rankings manifesto, our draft guide, and the draft guides of all your other favorite creators in the Flock League. And of course, you can also take some of this advice over to Underdog Fantasy and start practicing for your home league, because the more drafts you do, the more prepared you're going to be. And you can use promo code FSC for 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And they also have a brand new promotion right now where you can make a $5 play and you can get $50 in bonus funds instantly over there. So if that all interests you, it'll be linked down below in the pinned comment. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.